All right. Well, good morning and good afternoon, everyone who's joined us here today for the webinar. My name is Mark. I'm the Customer Success Manager here at Dualog, and I'm based in the Singapore office. And with me here today, I have Vida, who's the Product Manager for Internet Services, which includes Quota, Endpoint, as well as Protect. Now, today's focus is going to be on the Dualog Quota service, and just quickly run through the agenda on what we'll be talking about today. So first, we'll start off with the current maritime connectivity landscape, as well as some of the new challenges that have appeared as a result of this the recent changes. Next up, Vida will talk about the Dualog Quota solution, as well as give a quick demo of what the solution looks like. Next up, we'll spend a bit of time talking about a customer case study in terms of how they implemented the Quota solution and the benefits they had after using it. And last but not least, we'll have a quick Q&A session to answer any questions that you may have during this presentation. Now, before we begin the session proper, just wanted to run through some quick housekeeping. So at this point in time, you should see a poll flashing on your screen now. So please help to answer the poll just to know that the tool is working as it should. I believe the poll should be related to ice cream, so I expect pretty obvious answers here. And of course, if at any point in time during this webinar you have any questions at all, please do write them in the chat and we will run through them in the Q&A session. And without any further ado, I'll pass the time over to Vida now, who will begin talking about the current maritime connectivity landscape. Thank you, Vida.
Thank you, Mark. And it's great to be here. Great to see so many people joining. So thank you all for taking the time. I will say a few words about the maritime connectivity landscape and challenges before I dig into the Dualog Quota solution. And it's quite easy to talk about the internet at sea these days, I think. The new technology that's powering Starlink and other of the new systems, LEO or low Earth orbit satellites, appears to have solved it. Have a quick look at these numbers. This is a finding from Ookla. You might know them. They're the guys behind speedtest.net. And they have analyzed Starlink speeds for a long time, for millions of speed tests and users. And according to them, by Q1 this year, the median speed of Starlink is now above 100 megabits per second. And that's the download, and the upload speed is also increasing. And it's doubled since 2022. And keep in mind, this is the traffic, the speed tests that include every user, including users in highly congested areas on shore. So shipping could actually even be better. And everything that we hear from our customers using Starlink tells the same message. It works, and their users are never going back. This week, this news broke from Starlink. One of their senior engineers posted that since January, their speeds have even doubled. So now they are seeing median speeds in their internal networks. These are slightly different than the Ookla numbers because it's inside and outside, but they now see speeds above 200 megabits per second, and upload speeds are also very much increasing. So the direction is clear. We are getting more and more, and it's getting better and better. And it's not just Starlink. We have other competitors as well. Both Amazon and the Chinese SpaceSail are in the race. But I like to focus on OneWeb in addition to Starlink because they have a fully working LEO constellation. And this graph I found from a PhD student in Canada who's writing his thesis on measuring LEO speeds. And he's tried the 100 megabit SLA package from OneWeb, and it's pretty clear here as well. OneWeb is making this work. He's getting the speed he's expecting, and this is a serious contender in the LEO space. So the competition is coming, and the technology is moving fast. So I think we can finally establish that we have real internet at sea, and that's pretty cool, I think. So with great internet for everyone, what is the problem? And before I dig into this, I think we have one more poll that I would just like to ask you to get a feel of what you've been up to, what you've been trying. So which Leo solutions have you tried? I'd like to, I think you should see that. I'm curious to see if there are anyone who's tried anything other than Starlink and OneWeb. There are a lot of Starlink coming in. Yeah, I guess that corresponds with what we're seeing. Well, there's some others as well. That's kind of cool. But the majority is on Starlink. So even with internet being somewhat of a solved problem now in shipping, we still see some unsolved problems that's related. So I would like to mention 3 of the problems that I think is important. The first problem I would like to address is the usage and cost control. So when I come into my office in the morning, my phone automatically connects to the Dualog Wi-Fi. I don't have to sign in or do anything. There's no limit on that. But at 4 or 5 or sometimes 3 or 6, I go home, and that's where I enjoy my time off and use my personal internet connection. On ships, though, private usage and operational usage, that all happens from the ship using the ship's communication system. So because of this, shipping companies tell us they want to know who does what on their connection. They want to make sure that only authorized people use the Starlink or the VSAT. And if you have a limited Starlink package, they also want to ensure that the usage doesn't exceed the limit and incur any overage cost. Some also want to make sure that their users cannot be online all night, so they want to limit the number of minutes the users can browse every day. And God forbid, if something does happen, if there is something that goes wrong, they want to have the ability to audit and figure out what happened. So regardless of the Leo package you have, small, big, unlimited, you should have some solution that manage and record the usage, because the ship is both an office and a house. So the second problem I want to address is the 80-20 problem. So whether you have a big or small package, there will always be someone who consumes a lot more than the rest. And it's going to be downloads, VPN, or videos running 24/7. And that's unfair for the majority of the users who behave and use the internet responsibly. So this problem could even be self-enforcing. And we hear about cases where disappointed users feel that they don't get their fair share. So they're actually using the Starlink more than they need to. So depending on your package and bandwidth for your Leo system, you should have something that enforces a fair distribution of this wonderful resource. Finally, how do you visualize something that is just given out for free? At least I don't spend much time thinking about my Dualog Wi-Fi here in the office and being something with a high value. But seafarers expect Leo internet when they go on board. I hear stories now of unions that have started requiring internet for their members, and skilled seafarers joining job interviews and going like, so do you have Starlink on board? As the first question. So we've heard from customers who put 1 Starlink on board. The crew was not happy yet. They put 2 Starlinks on board, and the crew was still not happy. And they were like, do we have to put 3, 4, 5? What's the number? So you should have some solution that visualizes the value that the users on board are getting from the shipping company. So if any of these problems ring any bell or applies to you, we might have a solution. So let's talk about Dualog Quota. Dualog Quota lets you become the internet service provider for your onboard staff. It lets you build your own data package to give or sell to your ship users. This data package, it could be limited on time, it could be limited on volume, and provided to different groups of users or internet systems, for instance, ratings or officers, for Starlink or for VSAT. So you give the users a quota of data and perhaps let them spend money on buying more if they need. So Dualog Quota is built to let you customize the internet experience according to the internet capabilities of your ships. Dualog Quota is built for shipping. So it is compatible with any airtime, router, or UTM provider you might have. So whether it's Cisco, FortiGate, Palo Alto, WatchGuard, Infinity, Marlink, or even D-Link, Dualog Quota will work. So we recommend to segregate your network so you have a separate network for your personal internet usage. And if you do this, Dualog Quota will fit very easily into your infrastructure, preferably as a virtual computer placed in front of the personal network. And finally, the core of the service is the daily, weekly, or monthly free quota allocation with the option of topping up either through the ship's slot chest or self-service, or both if you have ratings or officers coming from different crew pools, for instance. So let's see how this looks in real life, or at least as real as my test ship can be. There are a lot of ways to deploy Dualog Quota, but in this demonstration, I'll use a very common one. So I have a test ship here. It's got a Starlink and a 2 megabit VSAT that's hidden behind a firewall. It has a bring your own device network for personal usage. And this is where I will insert the Dualog Quota component. The rest of the infrastructure, I'll just leave as it is. So in this case, instead of letting the enterprise firewall handle the crew network, the Dualog Quota will be in between and be the default gateway and the HTTP server for this network. So enough slides. Let me share my screen and demonstrate a few things. Today, I want to demonstrate a few things. First, I want to show you the basic quota configuration from the vessel IT perspective, and that happens through this portal that you should be seeing, the appsdualog.com portal. After that, I will take you to the computer of Tommy the cook on the test ship Agenor and go through how his experience using Quota will be. And finally, we'll go back to the vessel IT perspective and have a look at how they can audit the traffic that's happening on the ship. So let's start. So this is the web portal that vessel IT use to go through the computer of the Dualog system. So I have cheated a bit and already set up a company called Poseidon. And I also have my test ship Agenor. It's online and ready. So the first thing that I want to show you is how to get users into the system. So I'll navigate to the ship staff component of this portal. And I have, there we go. There's an action here. There are 3 ways to get users into the Dualog system. You can either connect directly to your crew management system. You can use our user import API using the SCIM standard. It's a standard way of importing users. Or the simplest is to upload a CSV file. So for this demonstration, I will use this. When I click this, I get a little introduction to how the CSV file should be. I pasted this into ChatGPT and asked it to make me some test users. And it created me a few hundred users and put it in a CSV file pretty out of the box. So I'll just put that file in here. And before I continue, I'm just going to check at the bottom that the users are being put into the crew group that I will show later. So I just click continue, and I see that the system is parsing this CSV file and picking up the users from this CSV. So I'll just import this into the system. There we go. So now I have some crew accounts, and they're all in the crew user group. So before we start looking at the quota, let's see what the crew user group is allowed to, so we can customize their user internet experience. So I'm going to go to the groups and the crew user group. I added the users to, and navigate down to the internet login settings. And here are some configurations that can be set. The first one is the session limit. This is the time when the user logs on. They are allowed to be online before they have to renew their session. This is great for ensuring that data is not wasted on devices just lying around doing nothing. And this can be set to any value. But if you want the users to define this for themselves, you can allow them to configure this. So I'll leave this on so you can see when we get to Tommy's screen how this looks. We can let Tommy decide how long he's going to be online every time. We can configure a internet device limit. How many devices can Tommy use at the same time? I'll leave that at 2. And finally, since we have both a VSAT and a Starlink, we're going to configure 2 different quotas, so you can let Tommy decide whether or not he wants to use the Starlink or the VSAT. So I'll leave this one on as well, so you can see how that looks. If this is turned off, it will be whatever rank the vessel IT puts to the systems, and basing on whether or not the systems are online, the choice is going to be made. So now we have some users, we have some permissions. Let's have a look at the quota configuration. I'm going to go to the quota and have a look at the settings here. There's some general settings. For the company, we're using euros, and we have some max and minimum amount of purchasing options. But the most important part is the price list. So this is price list is the data allocation. So I've cheated a bit here as well, made it beforehand. Starlink for crew, 10 gigabytes per week, and VSAT for crew, 1 gigabyte per week. And the configuration is quite straightforward. If I have a look at it, it has some settings. It allows the users to buy more if they exceed the free quota, and it's possible to add free price change here if you want. So you even got a quota calculator, so you can figure out exactly how your plan should be. And it targets all gateways of the Starlink type for the crew user group. So we now have some users, some permissions, and some quota. Let's jump into the boots of Tommy the cook to see how this looks for him. So this is Tommy's desktop on the test ship Agenor. And on board, he just wants to connect to the internet. So he opens his browser and navigates to his favorite website, for instance, dualog.com. But instead of getting the internet, since this computer is handled by Dualog Quota, and this network, he's in this crew network on the ship, he's seeing a captive portal like you would expect in a hotel or in an airport. So he has to put in his credentials. And once he's logged in, he can see an overview of what he can do. He can see his quota. He's got the Starlink free quota and some data left. You can see when it resets, when the next week is kicking in, and he's got some money so he can purchase more quota if he needs to. You can also see that he's got Starlink available, and since we allowed him to change, he also has the VSAT. Now the normal use case is to just click go online, and internet is available to Tommy, and he can use internet as he expects to. If he doesn't want to waste this Starlink quota on just Googling or WhatsApp, he can also use the VSAT for this. So notice if I change to the VSAT that the free quota is changing to the 1 gigabyte package that we configured. So if I go online here and I try to use the internet, it will still work, but it will be a lot slower than the Starlink. So this is useful for WhatsApp and messaging, but perhaps not for watching movies. So if Tommy wants to watch a movie, he needs to use the Starlink, and the movie is going to last more than 30 minutes. So we're going to let him to edit this connection time and be connected for a few hours before he's automatically disconnected. You can go online, and with a bit of luck, you can watch Star Trek. See if it works. Wonderful. They were keyed to. This is a wonderful episode. But let's let Tommy watch Star Trek, and I'll disconnect this. And there is also there's also an app available for Dualog Quota. And since I can't really share my screen on my phone, I pre-recorded a video of how that looks. So let me just show you that now before we jump to how this audit looks for the shore-based users. So in the app available for Android or iOS, Tommy will use the same username and password, and he get an overview of his free data. I recorded this before I used all the data, so he's got a bit more. He can still choose between Starlink and VSAT. He can go online, and he has all the features that he's got in the Capture portal. In addition, he can see all the logged in devices, and he can even disconnect devices that he doesn't want using the internet anymore. So the app is available. It's there for iOS and Android, and it can be used for those using mobile devices. Let's jump back to Tommy, and going back to the vessel IT. There are some reports available for watching what's going on. There's a quota report where transactions, data overview, and volume can be generated. And there's also a detailed audit that I will have a look at and see if the data from Netflix has come in. It comes in every few minutes. It's called Live Traffic View. And for Agenor, you can see the usage on the Starlink and the VSAT. You can see the sources and the destinations, and we can see the usage of Tommy. And if I want to see the details of what's going on, I can click Tommy, and I can see the details of the traffic, which computer is coming from, what destination it's going to, and the port and the gateway. I guess this is the speed test I ran because this is going on the VSAT. So it's possible to look back and have get all the details of what the quota has been used for. This is useful both for auditing or if Tommy asks, well, what happened? So this should give the tools to get an overview of what exactly the data usage is being spent on. So with this, I have covered the configuration, Tommy's experience, and the vessel IT experience auditing the usage. So I think that concludes this demonstration. Back to you, Mark.
Yep. All right, Vida, thanks a lot for going through a quick introduction of the quota service and doing a quick demo. I particularly like the experience from the crew perspective, specifically in being able to choose what gateway I want to use for the task that I have. Because yeah, I do get that feedback a lot from a lot of our existing customers. So thanks for sharing that. Now, before I move on with the next section of this presentation, I just wanted to quickly remind everyone who's watching and listening, if you do have any questions that you want to ask after Vida's brilliant presentation, please feel free to leave them in the chat, and we will talk about it in the Q&A session at the end. Okay, so now I just wanted to take some time to talk a bit about how one of our existing customers, Sturdy Ship Management, how they implemented the quota solution and what their experience was like. So just to set a bit of the background context, study was really quick to invest in Starlink, and I believe some of their crew users had also tried it out at their homes even before going on board. So this was early 2022, I believe. So yeah, going back to study, they were quick to invest in Starlink, and they saw improvements in both their business operations as well as the crew communication with their loved ones back home. Of course, with any sort of new solution, despite the benefits that they faced, the addition of Starlink on board also brought its own challenges, specifically with cost control due to overreach, and secondly, the need to have fair distribution of the internet access on board. So actually, one of the key questions that study wanted to address was this: how could we ensure that everyone on board had a good experience without skyrocketing costs for us on shore? Now, after deploying the Dualog Quota solution, study now enjoys full control over data and over cost and data usage, and they give their crew members 5 gigabytes per week without limiting the user experience on board. Additionally, they were also able to provide internet access to their external clients who are staying on board their offshore vessels. And of course, last but not least, their seafarers also gave the feedback that they now have access to a fair and reliable service. But of course, don't just take my word for it. So this is what Jan Ida, who's the head of IT at Study Ship Management, had to say. He basically says that the installation was relatively straightforward and the solution is easy to manage. It gives us the control we need without compromising the crew's experience on board. So the simple technical installation, centralized oversight, as well as easy management of ships and users have been key advantages of the Quota solution for study. And just to share a quick anecdote of how they used it as a one-off. So over the holiday season, they set up a Christmas happy hour, and it took 5 minutes for them to set this up on 15 to 16 ships. And by temporarily doubling the crew's data quota during the holidays, study made it much easier for seafarers to connect with their loved ones at a time that matters most, without any manual configuration or disruption. The gesture was well received across the fleet, and this also reinforces how thoughtful digital access can boost morale during important times of the year. The crew notices the difference, added Jan. Everyone gets a fair share. There's no more frustration about one person streaming while others can't even connect to the internet. So it's not even about limiting access, it's about sharing it equally among everyone. And I can share a bit more, but currently study is in the process of integrating their crewing management system with Dualog. And once this is completed, the user accounts will be created and removed automatically based on the status on the crewing management system. And this will drastically reduce the time needed for the administration of onboarding as well as offboarding users by the vessel IT team. Okay, and I think this comes to the end of this part. 1 second. Now, before we go into the Q&A, so thank you for your time so far, everyone, and for allowing Vida and myself to talk about the Quota solution, the current maritime landscape, and also sharing a customer story. But before we begin the Q&A session, you should now be seeing a poll appearing on your screen. So if you're interested to hear more about the Quota solution or any other of Dualog services for that matter, please take some time to fill in the linked form. Without further ado, let's jump right into the Q&A session. So I'm going to stop sharing this. 1 second. All right. The first question we had, Vida. Will it work with TP-Link routers?
That's a good question. The answer is yes, it will work with any router. The only requirement that the Dualog Quota solution has is that we see the IP address of the device that's connecting to us. So if there's any layers of NAT happening like behind us, we're in trouble. But we have tons of TP-Link routers and TP-Link access points and TP-Link equipment that's being used with Dualog Quota. So it's possible to make it work.
All right, thanks, Vida. And the next question we have is quite a long one, but
Mm,
let me read it. You said Dualog will act as the DHCP server and gateway. Are there options for client isolation? So I think maybe let's take this one by one, Vida. So
mm.
are there options for client isolation?
No, the Dualog Quota acts as the router, so it doesn't do any client isolation. That is usually something that's either handled by the Wi-Fi solution or further down in the network. So the Dualog Quota solution does not get into this business of network infrastructure.
Okay. And the next question, how is the quota renewal defined? You mentioned that it's weekly, but do you set specific dates or days, for
Mm.
instance, every Monday, or does it simply reset after 7 days from the first login?
Yeah, it's a good question. We have, for simplicity, we have chosen, we always use UTC dates in Dualog. So the daily quota resets at UTC midnight. The weekly quota resets at UTC midnight to Monday. And the monthly quota resets at UTC midnight to the first of each month. So that's set by the system. This is not one of the customizable features.
All right. And the last question, Vida, when purchasing data, is there any integration with the provider allowing the K vote from the provider to increase? Or does it rely on the vessel having a local buffer of data that the crew purchases from?
That's also an interesting question. Right now, the vessel needs to have a local buffer of data to purchase from. But we have some initiatives where some customers are looking into building this quota integration with their provider. But for the broad use case, this is something that's handled by vessel IT to ensure that there is enough buffer to be able to sell quota.
All right. Thank you, Vida. And moving on to the next question. Does the
Mm.
quota solution require a public IP?
Uh, that was an easy one. It does not. It all sits on the client on the ship, and it calls home to the Dualog cloud. So it does not require any public IP for any of the services. And that applies to any Dualog service we have.
The next question. How
Mm.
do users gain funds? And
Mm.
are these virtual funds?
Yes, there are two ways to gain funds. Or there is last first. Yes, this is virtual funds. We don't meddle with any real money. So as vessel IT, when you set up Dualog Quota, you can use whatever you want as the currency. It could be euros, dollars. Some will just use megabytes. You could even use cows. I mean, it's very. It's a virtual currency that you can define, and the users gain this either by using self-service, and then there's an API that the vessel IT can use to get out these transactions and put them into whatever system, invoicing or salary system there is. Or you can run it through the slop chest on the ship and let the captain or the chief officer handle the purchasing of adding more funds to the top of account.
All right. Next question. And I think, yeah, this is quite a relevant one because when you
Mm.
give access to internet, is there a content filtering module that comes along with this access to the internet?
Mm. Yes, there is a secure tier of quota where you can apply Dualog Protect, a component that does this to ensure you have content filtering, and it's added on top of the quota, and it utilizes the industry well-known service of Cisco Umbrella that allows you to specify tiers of security that's applied to all the users. So this is an extra tier to quota that can be used.
Okay. Next question, Vida, and I think you'll be quite excited to answer this one. Is bandwidth management possible in the Dualog Quota solution?
Absolutely, and this is one of the things that we are working on right now. You can specify limits of you can throttle bandwidths on sort of a ship level, but we didn't make it for this webinar. But next time we have a webinar, there will also be a throttling slider so that the users can decide for themselves which bandwidth they want to use. And as Vessel IT, you can configure on the quota price list the bandwidth limits to that allocation as well. So this is particularly useful in the cases where you have where you want to split on bandwidth instead of volume.
Yeah, and I think that ties in very nicely, Vida, with what we mentioned earlier, in that at the end of the day, it's about giving your seafarers more control over how they access the internet. Okay. Next question. Do we have separate quotas for the business network versus the crew network?
Yes. It's not per network, it's per user group. So if you are one type of user, you can configure the system so you have one quota, and then you have a different quota if you're a member of a different user group. We even have use cases where we have ships with multiple Starlinks, one that has a 1 terabyte package, for instance, one that's either unlimited or connected to a different package, and that based on the user group, you will use the right one based on the Vessel IT configuration. So this is extremely flexible. You can set up your configuration the way you want. And if you have an enterprise firewall on board with SD-WAN capabilities, the opportunities here are really, I don't want to say endless, but you have a lot of flexibility to configure the options that the user can get when connecting to the internet.
Yeah, thank you, Vida. Next question. Is Dualog integrated with the firewall or crew Wi-Fi controller? For example, you have your Microtik, Ubiquiti, or your Cisco.
We don't integrate directly with them, but we work alongside them very well. So we have a lot of customers with both Microtik, Ubiquiti, and Cisco, both for routers and for Wi-Fi solutions. And there are, as I mentioned, a lot of ways to configure quota. You can configure quota to have different SSIDs for crew and business traffic. That's one way to do it. Then you can filter on the source network you're coming from. But you can also use the user groups and put in the configure this on a permission level. So you could even have business users that can choose between using their business quota and their personal quota. So in that drop down where I showed Starlink and VSET, you could have official usage and private usage as options. So there are a lot of ways to configure this system.
Okay. Next question. Is it possible to manage the quota solution from shore, or is it only available from the vessel?
This is configured from shore, from the apps portal that I showed the Vessel IT perspective. When we are developing new features, when we're building the solution, we're adding as much as possible to the shore-based pod, and we want as much as possible to be configured on the shore pod. So right now, the only thing that you have to configure on the ship is like the IP addresses of the Dualog PC, and if you have VLAN configurations in a virtual hypervisor, those things that they have to be configured on the ship, but everything else goes on the shore.
All right, next question. Oh, and I think this question it kind of ties quite nicely in with simplifying the Vessel IT experience on board. And the question is, can the purchase records from the quota solution be integrated into the existing crewing management system so that the corresponding virtual funds can be deducted directly from the crew salary?
Yes, there is an API for this. You can create a token on the apps portal, and you get access to an API where you can get all the transactions, and they can automatically be deducted from the crew salary. And there's also a system for the captain on the ship, if the slop chest is used, to get this overview of the transaction that's been made.
All right. Okay, the next question we have. Is a hotspot or voucher system enabled for short-term visitors?
For voucher systems, there is no like push the button and get the voucher out of the system. This is today handled by having a set of voucher users, special accounts used for guests. But this is actually something that that has been brought up as something that we are considering to have like this click a button to get a pin code out. So maybe next time we have a webinar, we have something to show, but we're still considering it.
All right. The next question we have actually pertains to the vessel side. What insights and controls are available for the captain on board?
The captain on board is responsible for the people, so he will see all the users that are on the ship and has the ability to reset their passwords, to extend their stay on board, to approve that they're coming on board. So the captain's role in the Dualog Quota system is to ensure that the people that get the quota on board are actually on the ship. In addition, you can give the captain access to the different gateways of the system where he can turn them on and off and stop access to them if need be. That's the captain's perspective on the ship. Also, the captain or the chief officer or whoever has access can have the role as selling quota, being the slop chest representative.
Thank you, Vida. Next question really pertains to what the user on board experiences. And the question is, are there automated alerts when a user reaches, say, 80% or is reaching close to the full quota being used up?
For the user, no. The user will see it in his app or in his captive portal, but there's no, we're not pushing any notification to him or to them, no.
But I guess in that sense, Vida, whenever I as a crew user log in anyway, I will see my remaining balance. So it is kind of the situation is I will know how much I have before I go online. Yeah.
You will, yeah.
Okay. Next question. How can the shore office monitor the quota remotely across multiple vessels?
There are reports for this, the overview that shows the quota usage on each ship. So this is in the quota section. These are aggregated and updated every midnight UTC. So this will give the shore office a report of all the different ships and all the different gateways they have, and how much free quota has been used, and how much has been purchased, and how much the system has used for synchronizing and all the under the hood stuff. So there is a report for this.
Yeah, and if I can just quickly add a bit more, this report does go into quite a granular level, and it's available as a CSV export. So if any of you like me really like to use Excel, pivot tables and all that, it is quite flexible in that sense. Okay. Next important question, Vida. So I think in your presentation, you talked a bit about being able to use multiple devices on board. But then if a user connects from multiple devices, does the quota apply on a per device basis, or is it a shared quota across all devices?
The quota is for the user. So if the user logs in with one device, that quota will apply to that device. If the user logs in with 2 or more devices, those devices have to share the quota. So there's no way to sort of get around and get extra quota by adding more devices. So this is the user is the central actor in the Dualog Quota system.
Okay. Another interesting question. So far we've been talking a lot about the vessel, the IT onshore management perspective, and also the end user, what they can experience. But then this question is very interesting in that it goes deeper into the onboard experience. So what about the roaming and stationary users? So what I take to understand from this question is those accounts that are stationary, meaning that they will never leave the ship. So I guess the things that come to mind, your master account, your chief engineer account. So how does it differ between these accounts and your roaming crew users who can join more than one ship?
I think first off, to answer that question, I didn't go into the difference between the crew users and the stationary role-based users, but the system does distinguish between the captain as the role of captain and the person who is acting as captain. So there are flexibility to put in specific quotas for the business roles, for the chief officer, for the master. So they can have their set of quota, and then if they use their personal login, they will get their personal quota. The difference is that the personal users, they will move from ship to ship. So if you put on some currency on one ship, you will have that when you come aboard a different ship. Whereas the role-based accounts, they are locked. The stationary accounts are locked to that ship, and they are always fulfilled by some person. So this just adds to the flexibility of the quota configuration, and this is an extra dimension to the configuration that can be used.
Okay, so I think in terms of time, Vida, we are about 46 minutes in. So I'm just gonna answer one last question. It's great to see actually that so many of you have questions about the solution. But let me just answer one last question before we wrap this session up. And the question is, if we want to assign, let's say, 100 gigabytes per month quota to the TV for Netflix in the mess room, is there a way to do that without logging in? For instance, if we know the device's MAC address or IP address.
That's an interesting use case. So you want to have a quota for the TV in the mess room. That you cannot log that TV in remotely. Typically, what happens in those cases when we have these use cases, we assign what we call computer rules to the TV so that the TV can use Netflix, but then it doesn't have the quota. So this is an interesting interesting approach. I'll take that one back to the team and see what we can do.
Perfect. Thank you, Vida. And everyone, thank you for thank you for taking the time to attend our webinar today. As a parting note, just as a quick reminder, if you are interested in finding out more about the quota solution or any Dualog product and service for that matter, please do reach out and we'll be happy to share more information. So there should be a link that is appearing or a poll that's appearing on your screen now. So please feel free to register on the form there. All right. I think, yeah, that concludes our session today. Again, thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of the day, or if you're where I am, you're ending your day. So have a good evening. So thank you so much.